from the Cyber Hub bunker and studio. You're listening to the CISO Talk Podcast. No sales, no bullshit, just straight talk. Straight talk. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Happy Friday, everyone. James Azar here. Joining me on this week's live stream, the magnificent Christophe Foulon. Good morning, good sir.
Good morning. How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing amazing. I was watching us backstage as we were jamming to like the guitar solo and the music, right? Like both of us were just like jamming. Like I gotta get a backstage camera so I can post like what people do when like the music's like ramping up for the show. It'd be awesome. But thank you everyone for tuning in. August 6, 2021, Friday's AMA here on the CISO Talk podcast. This week, we did not put out a show because of Black Hat, because of Defcon, and because I also had a production issue with one of the episodes. I'll have a new one out for you guys next week. But like usual, every Friday, I like to come up here, even if it's for 30 minutes, and just say hello, what's up, talk a little bit about what's going on, looking at the week. And I like your shirt, Chris, by the way. Do we look like hackers? I like that. That's good. What do hackers look like?
That is the point of the shirt. Is that it was created from I think I got it from a company in Canada that was looking to change the image of what hackers look like. So they put out a contest on Twitter to send pictures of what you're doing day to day with the hashtag "Do we look like hackers?" And this is the cool swag that I got from it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I really like that. I really do. Mm-hmm. I think there's so much more to security than, hackers. So for everyone watching us, we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Let us know. Chop in. I've been watching way too much.
Good Chef or something like that.
Yeah. I have. I've been watching a bunch of cooking shows, to be honest, man. Like I'm on this new diet, right? So I've already shed 3 pounds, and it's all home cooking. Like even when I go out, I just try not to eat out, or if I'm eating out, I'm like really doing portion size. So even if you order a big food, big meal, you sit in a place, like you order a big meal, I'll eat a quarter of it and take the rest home and eat it over a period of time. And so that's kind of one of those things. But Matt Lee, well, this is two amazing cyber individuals. Thank you, Matt. I think Matt's in Black Hat. Matt, are you flew, right? Because you're at Black Hat Defcon. How is it? Because I'm getting a lot of different things. What about you? Like, what are you hearing about Black Hat?
And Mike's a humble brag. Moving up in this world, if I remember correctly, he just became a director at the company he's working for. So moving his way up in the cyber ladder as well.
Indeed. And Ola's with us back from forever. Hey, folks. Yeah, everyone's on vacation. I'm glad to see people this year take some time away and just go out. But Matt says this about Black Hat. Leaving today, way few people, way few vendors.
Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things of going to some of these major conferences, right? Especially for diverse individuals, for females, like they feel like some of these conferences, they get harassed. They don't get the proper treatment. But when you have a time like this and you have less vendors, maybe you can do like what Matt's doing, is have a deeper engagement with your partners, because you're less trying to scan everyone's badges that's walking by and actually having a conversation with you.
That's one of the things. I love Defcon, right? I'm going to say this. I used to really like Black Hat. And I felt like over, pre-COVID, and maybe this will change. Maybe COVID was a good reset for Black Hat, right? Because Black Hat was almost becoming too much like RSA. And no offense to any of the vendors, okay? Please don't take this as me in any way being derogatory, okay? Because it's not. We, as a CISO, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the security posture I have today without some of your innovation and technologies. So let me put that plain and simple, right? But Black Hat used to be an event that was all about, kind of, I don't want to say hackers, but like red teamers and research and
technical talks
and technical talks. And it slowly kind of shifted into like an RSA format. And I really hope the Black Hat folks hear this and just please go back to the old format. You're going to get, I think more people would have taken the chance to go out there if it was more in that direction. Right. But if I'm going to go to something where I'm going to hear the same stuff that I would hear locally here in Georgia by going to, any event here or, going to Nashville or Florida, then I'm not going to fly, 4 hours to Vegas.
Well, I think you still have that reputation for some of that happening, and you do have some 0 days, some exploits, some innovative exposing that happens in some of these talks, and some of them go unrecorded, so you don't see what's happening behind those closed doors. And I think that's back to the roots of what it was, right? Engineers and technical individuals coming together to share what they found, and less about like a promotional stunt for this new blockchain company that whatever happened a couple of years ago, things like that. So yeah, I think it still has value, right? But you have to get, first of all, individuals willing to do that research and to share that research. And then second of all, then you have to have them on stage to be able to do so. And I know some interesting folks like Ian Coldwater was there, and others sharing their talks as well.
Absolutely. Let's get to some few quick comments. Brian Roy says, good morning, Chris and James. Good morning to you, Brian. The awesome James McQuiggan. It's two of my favorite people. Good morning, gents. Matt Lee is giving you a lulls on what you had to say. And James McQuiggan says, do we consider Black Hat and Defcon as our largest echo chambers? No FOMO. I'll tell you, I think the Defcon content generally is better than Black Hat. Content only. Engagement-wise, as a CISO, I enjoy Black Hat more because everyone takes me to go drive Ferraris and helicopter rides, just, right? Like, you have a lot more fun, right? Because you do all bunch of side events. Defcon's more hands-on. Now, if you talk to Gary Hayslip, who you and Renee wrote a book with, right? Tell everyone about the book for just a moment. Give the book a plug here.
Absolutely. So the book is How to Develop Your Career at Any Level, written from 3 interesting insights. One of that being senior leadership from Gary Hayslip, from the recruiter point of view from Renee, and from the practitioner point of view from me. And we all have 3 different unique perspectives as to ways that you could develop your cyber career. And what I did is I created a framework of 10 or 11 different stages that you would ideally go through if you're creating your career path in a meticulous order. And this goes into really defining what you're passionate about, how to beef up those skills in those areas, how to find that right job, how to network effectively with leaders, hiring managers, peers, ways to get yourself out there in the community, and towards the end, prepping yourself for that interview and your next stages once you're in the field.
Love it. And people can get this book on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Any bookstore they want, go look it up. It's really, really a good book. I got my copy, and it's a blast. I still have to send it for you, Gary and Renee, to sign, because I will not have your book on my shelf unsigned. Your book will be making an appearance in the background shortly, folks. Good day to Aaron. Thank you for joining us. But let's go back to James McQuiggan's question, right? Defcon, Black Hat. We talk about content, right? So Black Hat's much more commercial. Defcon seems to be better at networking. They also have a lot more technical talks at Defcon, right? Like Defcon just seems to be overall the more meaty conference from a content perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
More or less, maybe.
Yeah. And what I like about it is all the villages that they've created. They have an aviation village, they have a social engineering village, they have an IoT village, that have all these niche focus areas for individuals looking to specialize or who have specialized in those areas to network with other peers that have that same passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt says finding what you're passionate about being the single largest one, in my opinion. Yeah, but you go to an event like Defcon or Black Hat, right? If you spend those 9 days in Vegas and you do the training ahead of time, because that's the one thing about Black Hat that I think is very different from RSA. There's a lot of professional development going on in Vegas before the event itself, whereas an RSA is just 4 days of what I feel like to be just the buzzing sound of people saying, get your free iPad Pro, get your free iPad, get your free AirPod Pros. DEF CON is less of that. Black Hat is less of that. The villages, you brought up a great point, are always very, very fun. You kind of walk by. I think I flew a simulators a few years ago in the aviation one, and I kept crashing the plane, and I was like really agitated because I had flown on a real simulator, and it's a completely different experience. But
and then shout out to people like Kristen Rainier, who also helps run the car hacking village, right, that shows ways that automotive transportation is vulnerable to cyber attacks. And if I'm not mistaken, like one of the years they had a car deconstructed to show how you could hack into the car and interact with the onboard computer systems.
Yeah. Brian Kane says DEF CON is more fun by far. I agree with Brian on that assessment. I think DEF CON, to me, and again, there isn't a right or wrong answer here, and we're not trying to say don't go to Black Hat, go to DEF CON, or vice versa. I think it's really important for people to understand the different styles of event and what you're going to get out of it, right? And I think there's value to being at both. And I say that because I think I get more value being in DEF CON than I do maybe at RSA. And I get more value being that entire week in Vegas than I do being in RSA. And I'm just saying that from a professional development perspective only. I'll get more value the week in Vegas than I would a week at RSA. And again, no disrespect to RSA. We're not trying, everyone has their own little thing. And I think a lot of times people will say, well, why are you dissing us, James? Because I'll get messages from people. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to explain is there's a lot of noise around events, right? Mm-hmm. And yesterday when we were doing CISO Thursdays, Renee and I, one of the people was commenting like, how can I find a job? How can I network when there's no in-person events? And we had to talk about the virtual aspect of events, right? And groups and applications like Clubhouse. And by the way, if you're on Clubhouse and you're not following the CISO Talk room, you should go do so right now. Go and follow our CISO Talk room. I do a lot of spontaneous Clubhouse rooms every now and then, and they're a lot of fun. And everyone comes on board, and we have a good time, and it's very open discussion. And I'm not trying to convince anyone of my viewpoint. I'm sharing what I experience, right? And I think I want to kind of that's what I want to say, kind of a preface when I compare, RSA maybe to Black Hat or DEF CON.
But I mean, along with that similar line, for example, I know there are Discord channels dedicated to like DEF CON. Right. You have Discord channels from some of the major vendors out there that engage the community with their brands, create a platform for like-minded individuals to interact and have conversations. That's a way to network. If you're looking to be a pen tester, 3 of the major pen testing firms that I know, that the more niche ones, not the big 4s or anything like that, they have their own Discord channels, and you could go to their Discord channels, ask individuals that work for those companies questions, and network with them that way, because most of the times they'll never post a public job description for a role. You're going to hire someone that they've seen in the channel, seen how they interact with folks, and see the technical chops that they have while engaging with the community, and have a private conversation with them than posting something publicly.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's aspects of going to these types of events. One thing I really kind of want to do at these events more of, right? And I think next year, hopefully we'll be able to be all of us in person and be in Vegas, and we'll find a way, kind of be there. And I'm not going to get into the whole, COVID thing, because it's pointless at this point. But what I will say is to be able to integrate more of the people who want to get into the industry, and be able to do more workshops and more things for those folks to really help them break into security and break into security successfully. I wish if boot camps did everything they did on the week of Black Hat, how many more people would you think could be hired right after that?
Absolutely, a lot. And I mean, some of the challenges with boot camps is that they try to cram everything down in a week for the purpose of passing a test rather than teaching technical skills. Whereas the training that happens around these types of events is they do the total opposite. They focus on training technical skills, not geared towards just getting a piece of paper.
Right.
And I think that's the difference.
So you and I always have very fun back and forth, right? Like you and I are always going kind of back and forth on a lot of stuff, and I like it. I actually I like it because for people who don't know, Chris and I don't always see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and behind the scenes, what people don't know is that we have very interesting debate on a lot of different things, and that's why I appreciate Chris, and that's why I like to bring him on always and often, and I like being part of CISO Thursdays, because one thing that I think is really important to understand is, one, we don't always have to agree to be friends. If Chris needed anything tomorrow morning, I'd be right there to help him, irregardless to whether we agree on things or not, because he's my brother from another mother. That's number one, right? But the other part is cyber is really, really diverse, and it requires diversity of thought. And just because I think different doesn't make Chris less or more qualified than I do. It just shows you that we need every single point of view in security. I think that's something that's often missed. That like when I read some of these Reddit's comments on different things that go on, or on some of the Slack channels or Discord groups, and I'm just like, why does everything have to have a right or wrong answer? Why?
Or your favorite platform, Twitter.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I had Samara Williams. If you guys don't know who Samara Williams is, if you go back to the CISO Talk podcast, episode 119, I had on Lori, Brittany, Samara, Yana on the podcast, and they're all from Cardinal Health. The CISO, the BISO, the VP of Security Operations, and the Director of Security Operations all were on the show simultaneously. If you've missed that episode, you got to go back and listen to it. Samara brought up something in the episode that I found very fascinating, and it's about Twitter. She said, I hire people through Twitter. I've had people engage me on Twitter and get a job through Twitter. And I was like, wow, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're finding a different resource on Twitter than what I've seen, because my experience has been different. Now, does that make, in my opinion, Twitter is garbage, but for Samara, Twitter is a great place. And and I'm fine with that, right? Because everyone's going to have a different experience. So, but you were saying, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, everyone's point of view is definitely interested. And just like your experience from Twitter might be different than someone else's, I think that goes back to some of the biases in the way that the technology is created, right? And the algorithms that feed your feed. Because to get something onto your feed, you have to follow individuals. And depending on who you follow and the data that they have amassed on you, they will send you certain posts, and you won't see everything. And I think maybe the people that you follow, or the lack or available information that Twitter has on you, sends a dumpster fire your way.
I think it is. You might be right slightly about that. I think there's a greater problem with algorithms on feeds.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into that discussion on this specific program. We'll do that on Digital Debate. And people are welcome to join Digital Debate. That's what we're calling, we've renamed the Tech Town Square to Digital Debate. And we'll be relaunching this coming Wednesday. Eddie and I were just texting this morning. We've got a really cool, we've rebranded, relogoed. Really cool. We're going to be doing the show exclusively on Clubhouse until we can live stream on Locals. And we'll keep that discussion for there. I will tell you that people find value in different places. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. When I do these live streams, I'm not trying to get people to buy into one piece of opinion or another. But we want to present people options. We want to bring people's different points of view so that you can weigh it, so you can be informed as humanly possible to make the right decisions, right?
Let's take the same topic and flip it. And well, let's address this comment, and then we'll go down that area. Lockheed has a boot for recording, solve a simple problem, watch a recruitment video. That's perfect. I mean, if you're looking for problem solvers and you find a creative way to engage with them, that's a great way to do so. Especially for the more shy individuals that might not just want to go up and talk to a recruiter. If you could draw them in with a puzzle, that's a great way to do so.
What a great way to qualify people, right? Yeah. So Aaron says boot camp stored certs have become almost worthless and a money pit. Between Cybrary, O'Reilly, Udemy, and many other web-based sources, they offer updated training, videos, books, and exams. Yes, yes, yes to all of that, what Aaron just said. But another part is there's a ton. Microsoft's, you can go and train on their products for absolutely free. Every single vendor does the same thing. Amazon, you can go and study for your certs for absolutely free. The exam costs you money, but not the exam materials.
Yep.
And listen, we need more people with hands-on experience. I was in a room earlier this week, and we're going to get to your comment here in just a moment, Brian. I was in a room on Clubhouse earlier this week, and people were saying, you know, a very diverse group of people in the room. And someone said, how do I get into security? And I was like, what are you? They go, I'm a lawyer. I'm like, great. We need lawyers in security. We need someone who understands the law, who can come and understand security, who can take those two together and communicate it in legalese. Yep. Legalese is a language, folks. All right. And if you're a nurse practitioner and you don't want to be a nurse practitioner anymore, maybe, you know, COVID has put a strain on you from a health perspective, and you no longer, because there's a lot of nurses, folks, dropping out of the workforce. There's a shortage in nursing. I know a lot of nurses who've reached out to me and said, how do I transition into cyber? I can no longer do this crap.
There's HIPAA consulting. There's consulting on the EHR systems. How to implement workflows, how to validate that you're meeting these compliance requirements. Yeah, there's so many different things. Yesterday, I actually had a great conversation with a privacy specialist talking about the difference between ownership of a data and a system and application of a privacy framework to the controller, the processor, the third or fourth party, and how they all have their own requirements from privacy, but they don't own the system, but you're still responsible for data flowing through it. Let's read this comment from Brian.
Yeah. So I agree with the route James was heading down, creating an event large enough to bring people wanting to enter the industry and gain valuable hands-on training and knowledge would allow so many to identify where they want to be in the vast fields involved within cyber would be amazing, possibly cutting down into ever-expanding gap there is with open positions in cyber, both federal and civilian sectors. Here's the catch to this. Some people who want to break into cyber may not have the resources. And this is where some of the stuff has to be virtual, right? Because you've got to be able to give someone who doesn't have the ability to get there, but wants to get in and has the passion and the drive, the opportunity to be there. So yes, I agree. We need to do this in person. We need to do it in more events. We need to allocate time. I'm hoping that during Cyber Week Georgia, which is an event here we're trying to do in Georgia next month, but with things looking, we're going to end up having to postpone it because of Delta, possibly. And with that being said, though, if we're able to do it at a later time, be able to do 2-3 hours a day where people can come in and actually interview, meet CISOs, meet VPs, meet people who are hiring, and be part of the event as well.
I think the other aspect that we need as well from the community, from the companies that are in the community, is a commitment to invest in their people in training. You can't expect someone to come in with 10 years of experience for a technology that's been there for 3 years. You can't expect everyone to come in at a mid-level career. Yes, we need people at all the levels. And if you have someone transitioning from another field, you're going to have to invest a little bit in the education and training to get them up to speed, but they will have a lot of transferable skills from the business to the management aspect that you don't have to train them on, but you might just have to train them up on the technical part. So that investment into your workforce is also going to be a critical aspect. And James, I have to drop right now, but it's been an amazing conversation.
I know you do, buddy. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Chris. Folks, Christophe Foulon, go follow him everywhere. I'm left all alone, and I want to get to some of your comments. Matt says, Brian Roy, I agree. It would be really cool to make an incubator. Yes, it would be, but beyond an incubator, there needs to be people that are willing to hire and be there. It would allow individuals to burst out of the bubbles that have been created over the past year. Absolutely, Brian. You nailed it. Chris, not only the privacy framework, but the RMF as well. Love that point. Aaron talks about finding out that Ivy League schools have a number of free training courses, with many including a certificate of completion. Aaron, do you mind sharing some of those in the comment section below? Even one or two, so people can see those, or mentioning the names, that would be absolutely magnificent. Have a safe trip back, Matt. Thank you so much for being with us. Ed talks about there are plenty of free training options, scenes, FBI briefings. Yeah, absolutely. And CISA always has, CISA has an entire free training catalog that's right there available. All you have to do is just go and they've got a free training catalog of anything you want. They've literally centralized all of the free stuff on CISA's website. If you go to CISA.gov, CISA or DHS.CISA.gov, I forgot what it is, and you look at free training tools, it's all there. Carlos says, good morning. Always great to listen to you guys and your insights. Thank you, Carlos. Really appreciate it. There's a lot of different things that go on in terms of not only getting into security, but also training yourself. I mean, even as leaders, people who exist in security, who are practitioners, daily practitioners, like myself and many others, we still look for more trainings. We still look for more ways to up our game, because there's no other way. And I think it's really important to note that a lot of people, you spend so much time reading. And for anyone who's watching and listening, everyone on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, I'm curious if you guys don't mind commenting, and I can see all comments from any platform, so please do so. How much time a day do you spend reading as a security practitioner on average? Just a question. Ed says, I make my team take 2 webinars a month at a minimum. That's awesome, Ed. That's awesome. Just so you know, on August 24th, I'm actually doing a webinar with the one and the only Roger Grimes of KnowBe4. We're going to be talking about hacking MFA and how threat actors target MFA and how they beat MFA. We're going to have some live examples. It's going to be really, really awesome. I'll have the registration link up Monday. And I'll send it over to you. Maybe some of your people on your team would want to be a part of that webinar. It's going to be really cool. If you guys don't know who Roger is, Roger is unbelievable. Guys, we're in 12. He's writing his 13th book now in security. I think his flagship book to me is Data-Driven Security and then Data-Driven Defense. So it's going to be a really cool webinar that Roger and I are going to be doing, talking about hacking MFA. We've done one podcast on the topic. Podcast got a ton of downloads. I had to upgrade my podcast package. Let's put it that way. So definitely check it out. Ed goes on to say, Roger is awesome. This will be a great interview. Yeah, it's going to be awesome because Roger is really a stealth of knowledge in our industry, and definitely someone to pay attention to. Carlos says he dedicates 90 minutes a day just to learning and reading. Understand that in order to be in security, even after your certs, even after you're on the job, you've got to train, you've got to learn. And if you're looking to switch, because there's a whole parallel of people now that are, kind of leaving their places of work and going somewhere else, they're looking for more flexibility. Here's the thing. Ask them in the job interview, how much time do you allocate for training and reading for your employees? Or are they expecting you to just be hands-on 8 to 5, take your 30-minute lunch break, take your 15-minute breaks by law, and that's it? Because that'll also let you know a lot about the company and the leadership and everything else that you need to know. That'll be. Aaron goes on to say that will be great since we, as customers, are seeing a number of different techniques companies are using for MFA. Indeed. Ed goes on to say he spends 4+ hours a day security-related reading as he's getting his doctorate in cyber. That's, again, folks, 4+ hours a day. Carlos, 90. How much time do you spend? Even if it's 10 minutes, don't be afraid to comment. This isn't a competition, but it's rather of understanding and showing the rest of the people that you can't just, you don't walk into this job, you sit at your computer and you go type in on your keyboard. That just doesn't exist. That's just not there. Brian Roy says, currently switching from one career to another. I spend around 6 to 8 hours a day right now with reading, labs, and videos. You're spending full days, Brian. Well, good done. You're investing in your future. It's great. But I think, oftentimes people will look at leaders, right? So I'll give you an example. I spend about 2.5 hours a day reading. I spend another hour a day writing, meaning I read and then I take what I read and I try to write it down, paraphrase it, put it somewhere as part of the book I'm writing, as part of maybe articles I want to publish, and I create this library of things I have to do. So that's kind of my technique, right? But different people have different techniques. I mean, like I said, Ed, 4+ hours per day, 4+ hours per day, folks. Aaron says, I say learn something new every day because malicious actors are, and they have access to many of the same free info we do. They absolutely do, and they talk better than we do, Aaron. They talk so much better than we do with the information they get. So much better. And so, invest in learning all the time because you're going to have to. And Aaron goes on to say, that is what I absolutely love about this domain. Me too. If you're looking for a domain where things don't change, by all means, there's plenty of those. This domain, security, privacy, is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And it's not just about threats, folks. It's about technology. Vendors launch new technology all the time. We don't just spend time looking at what the threat actors do. We spend time looking at what our industry partners are doing to help us beef up our security posture, to help us understand better where we can be better at what we do. We listen to talks. I listen to other podcasts. I read other people's work. You've got to. No one knows everything. No one does. And you've got to collect all different information. And beyond security, I got to understand what's going on in business. If I'm working in fintech, I got to know what are the trends in fintech. What are some of the market leaders in fintech doing right now? What's the future? What are they talking about that they're looking to implement 2-3 years from now? And how does that fit into what I'm doing currently to what I might need to be doing 2-3 years down the road? Is what I'm doing right now a bandage on a gunshot wound? And does that mean I need to rethink my strategy in one specific set of the business in order not to slow down the business 2 years down the road? Because that's a real consideration when you're a chief information security officer, is you want to be a business enabler. You want to be a driver. You want to be in the driver's seat. You want to be looking at everything around you. You want to be fully aware. You want to have perfect view. Think of like if you've ever driven a Tesla or some of the new cars, they've got all these different cameras. And if you're looking at the board, you see all these different things. You don't have any blind spots. Well, as a CISO, you not only can't have blind spots from security, but you also can't have blind spots from business. You can't go in one direction if the business is going in another one. You've really got to line up your security to what the business is doing. And that's really, really critical. And that's part of learning. That's part of reading. That's part of investing. It's not just Cybrary. It's going to the Harvard Business website, or grabbing a bunch of books, or listening to different business speakers, people within your industry. If you're in healthcare, look at what some of the large healthcare organizations are talking about. What is their chief innovation officer talking about? What are some of their engineering teams talking about? What are some of the changes that they're looking at doing that are going to be a systematic change that's going to impact the way you currently operate? And then what can you do to pivot from it? I had Sam on from Wells Fargo a while back in April on the CISO Talk podcast, and you guys should give it a listen. He talked about how they're now talking about how do we prep for quantum now, 2021, real use of quantum, maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 years away, but they're talking about it now because they see it coming and they don't want to be caught off guard. So there's some stuff that you got to start planning for, because big ships move slow and they turn slow. And if you're a CISO in a big ship, you've got to plan your turns really, really well. So a bunch of stuff there. Let's get into some of your comments. Ola says, I'm in advisory services and have to spend at least an hour and spend extra making it human readable to clients. Yep, that's very true. Ed goes on to say the reality for the practitioners that our knowledge cycles every 90 days. That is 4 times a year that your knowledge cycles out to make way for new threats. If you don't continue to learn, you will stagnate. You become part of a very, very challenging position that you put yourself in. Heat map of OpenSec jobs by state, cybersec.org/heatmap.html. Go check that out. Brian agrees with what Ed just had to say. I'll leave Ed's comment there so you guys can actually see it on the screen. If you're listening, it's cybersec.cybersec.org/heatmap.html, or go to cybersec.org. Seek, that's Sam Echo Kilo. Folks, it's really, that's a really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Ed. Folks, I'm kind of going to wrap it up. We've said a lot. We've talked a lot with Chris here. I want to give you some time back. And I want to thank you all for being part of the live stream. Like I said, I try to do these. I want to do these every single Friday. By the way, so you know, last week I had one with Alfred, right? You guys loved it. Got so much great feedback. Alan and I are going to do a Friday AMA together every month, every third Friday of the month. So 2 weeks from today, Alan will be back with me, and we'll be doing this together. The Cyber Ranch podcast and the CISO Talk podcast coming together to do a Friday AMA. It's going to be a blast. You guys are we're really gonna have fun with it. Take your questions, talk about just stuff that we're seeing from a vendor practitioner side, and really just answer your questions and network and have a good time and open doors and hopefully be able to answer some of the challenges everyone's going through as effectively as humanly possible between the both of us, which may or may not be helpful. I don't know, depending. Right? We'll also be wearing our hats. I've got my cool one. And Alan has his as well. So we'll be here as well. So Fridays, 11 a.m. I'll be later today, Tech Corner with Javad Malik of KnowBe4. Talk about cyber culture. We talk about the hybrid security culture in organizations. We talk a little bit about the inside man that KnowBe4 does a great 8-minute show that they produce. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. Go and check it out as well. That'll be dropping on the Cyber Hub podcast later today. We'll be back again Monday right here with a practitioner brief. And I'm going to sign off for the rest of the day, folks. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for all of your comments, for being part of for allowing me to be part of your routine and tuning into the show. Thank you so much. Great show, James. Please keep up the good fight from Ed. Thank you so much, Ed. You do the same as well, good sir. It is moving so fast that education institutions have come out with a digital data business strategy instead of business strategy. Indeed, that is also very true. And Aaron, thank you so much for your compliment, man. Have a great weekend yourself as well. I really do appreciate it. Folks, till Monday, I'll be back then. Don't forget to go subscribe to the podcast. If you're on Clubhouse, go to Clubhouse, follow the CISO Talk podcast, or follow the Other Side of Cyber Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. JJ and I are on the Other Side of Cyber on Clubhouse. That's the only place we do the Other Side of Cyber, on Clubhouse. It's a lot of fun. I believe this Monday we're going to be doing an AMA style as well. But then on Thursdays, we have a really strict schedule. It's really awesome. Go check that out as well. Some of the stuff I'm moving only to Clubhouse so that we can have more of a free platform to talk on that puts you folks in a position where you can share a lot more than you can right here on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. So until then, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being part of this. Enjoy your weekend and stay cyber safe. Cheers, guys.
Make sure to subscribe to our podcast and share it with your friends and colleagues. And get all the latest information at cyberhubpodcast.com.